Yo, what is up, y'all? Dubs Mind here, and today we're doing the Warriors preview video for the Warriors versus the Timberwolves. And actually, I'm doing this a full day before. Usually, I do these like on the day a few hours before, especially since I want to get up-to-date information in terms of injuries and stuff. But I'm gonna assume I might be busy tomorrow. Like, I'm still gonna be able to watch the game and stuff, but just I won't have enough time to make the video, and I have time today. And today's gonna be a very long episode, so buckle in. We got a lot of news to cover today, and then obviously Timberwolves are the first time we're facing them, so we're gonna talk about them somewhat too. But there's a lot of news. So we're starting off with this was a good article, I think, for this. So obviously Jonathan Kuminga not getting any playing time despite being healthy against the Bulls. It's starting to feel like Jonathan Kuminga's time with the Golden State Warriors is heading towards an inevitable end. So Steve Kerr talked about this, about the January 15th trade eligibility date, and I'm just going to roll the soundbite for you guys while you guys can read the text here too.
His feelings, I can imagine it's not easy for him, and we've talked, about the situation, and my desire for JK is to become the best player he can possibly be, regardless of where he ends up, whether it's here or elsewhere. And, I tell my guys a lot, there's so few players who end up playing for one team their entire career. It rarely happens. I played for 6 different teams, and none of us know what's going to happen with JK or with, pretty much any of our guys, although I would advise Mike not to trade Steph. Yeah, it's not an easy situation, but nobody knows what's going to happen. My goal is to get JK to play at the highest level that'll help us win that he can.
But yeah, as it says, it marks another clear tone shift from Kerr, who stopped waving off speculation. So it's been kind of clear, obviously, that both sides are kind of looking forward to a trade potentially in the future. Like, JK's still willing to play with this team and do his best. And, with the fact that for the first one he said here or elsewhere, obviously it's pretty indicative of his stance on it. And the thing is, like, there's a good chance he's going to be traded. My thing is just that people are saying this because, like, oh, JK doesn't want to be with the Warriors and Steve Kerr hates JK, which I just think is completely just not true. Because the thing is, JK, if you've watched the Warriors this season, he has done the things the coaches have asked him to do. His scoring obviously isn't consistent. That's also the reason why he's not playing, but he still has been doing the things that we want him to do. But when you obviously can't score, which was supposed to be your forte, obviously we can't leave him in the game despite doing the things we asked him to do. Especially when his shot selection has still been kind of poor. But again, I just don't think it's like a lack of effort from JK. Like, I still enjoy his, competitiveness, like the stuff he does, again, with the rebounding, dishing the ball. Like, his passing has become much better. And, like, I think the injuries has really, followed him up a little bit. So that's why I just think it's kind of, stupid to say that, like, oh, JK and the Warriors have a terrible, relationship, as, some people have said online that I've seen. I just think this is kind of such a situation where it's like both sides acknowledge the current status of the team and his play, and I don't think there's any bad opinions on both sides about the other side. I just genuinely think that, and I can say this as a person who's watched this whole team for the longest time. And again, I just don't like this whole narrative around JK being a really terrible person, which he honestly is not. Like I've said before, he is not, and it's been shown, especially during the early parts of this season, that he's been playing really good. So I still agree, again, a trade is probably the best for both sides, but saying that the fact that he's not playing good and not getting PT is because of the fact that JK's personality is terrible is just such ridiculous, just mindless comment, in my opinion. Especially when I hear that from people that aren't Warriors fans and don't really follow the team. And I get it, you guys don't follow the team, so you guys don't know much about the situations, but still, it just, again, it's kind of annoying to hear that from people who don't watch the team, and some people assume that they know what's going on. But again, that's just my take on it. But yeah, but this leads into the next topic, which I caught when I was watching ESPN for a little bit, but Anthony Davis trade guide. So there was a very interesting 5-team trade that was shown by Bobby Marks, which was not that bad, and honestly might be a pretty decent trade for all sides considered. Obviously there's some shortcomings, and the funny thing is, We're not getting AD in that trade, because as you can see, this is the trade. Hawks get Anthony Davis, Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and Devin Carter. Mavericks get Zach LaVine, 2 first-round picks. Kings get Trae Young, Luke Kennard. Warriors get Kristaps Porzingis. Pistons get Doug McDermott and cash considerations. Let's look at it from all teams' side, right? So the Hawks are getting Anthony Davis, and they're basically trading away Trae Young. This might not seem like the most great trade ever, just because you're trading away a point guard for a big when your point guard has technically, you know, been your best player for your team. In a way, like not this season, but just in general. So you kind of lose, like, now who's your point guard. But the thing is, again, Trae Young's been out these recent few games, and Hawks have been playing so good despite that. And the fact, you know, the contract extensions could have happened this offseason, or maybe it was last offseason, I forgot. But it hasn't happened, means that the Hawks and Trae Young don't really see eye to eye on their current situation. So, you know, if they can get a player back for Trae Young, this would be a good trade for them. Obviously they're also losing Kristaps Porzingis, but they'll get Anthony Davis back to solve that issue. Jonathan Kuminga is a swing player where obviously he didn't work with the Warriors, but you know, you've seen flashes of how good he can be. You might as well take the swing. Buddy Hield can probably do good shooting, and Devin Carter can be now your new point guard, who is a young prospect, because I think he's 23, so you know, he hasn't played much. Still, like, he's a young player that can be potentially good, so they probably want to get off of the current Trae Young contract, and also just him as an asset where they probably don't want to lose him for nothing. So for the Hawks perspective, I think it's a decent trade. Obviously it's not the best case scenario, but with Trae Young's trade value kind of being under a very big question mark under this current situation right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for something like this, especially since you want probably something back for Trae Young. Most likely, you know, him declining that player option and becoming a free agent. You know, you don't want to lose him for nothing. So yeah, Mavs perspective, you get Zach LaVine and 2 first-round picks, which seems like a small, you know, haul for someone like Anthony Davis. But again, same thing here. Anthony Davis's trade value is also under a big question mark, but it's definitely still pretty low considering the injuries and stuff. And there's a lot of teams that can suit up for him, but again, like, to trade for him, but you know, there's not much teams that are trying to get him though because of the injury. So you are kind of limited in what trades you can even make in the first place, with the lack of teams wanting to do the trade. So the fact you can get 2 first-round picks from this situation is not terrible, and you still get Zach LaVine to stay somewhat competitively. And obviously Zach LaVine down the line can be traded again, you know. First-round picks aren't obviously the best, where this one's top 14 protected for us, and then it's the worst of Bucks and Pelicans with top 4 protection. That pick might be pretty good though, just because, yes, both Bucks and Pelicans can be bad to the point where it can be a top 4 pick, but since they are bad, if they're not too bad, or even if they are bad and they fall in the lottery, you can get like a 5th to 10th pick from this. You know, that's not bad, and this pick will most likely will convey to that 2nd round pick instead of because I think the Warriors will actually no, so it ends up being a 2nd round pick, or ends up being a lottery pick. So, and in the most likely situation, it will be a lottery pick for them, because the Warriors are obviously trying to be good still, and this is literally next year's draft. So again, this will be not exactly a lottery pick, because this is, again, lottery protected, but it'll be close there. And again, like, just because you're 1 or 2 spots off of that, it won't be the worst thing ever. So this, again, might not be the haul that they want, but with how bad Anthony Davis has been in terms of his injuries and his trade value just being not there, I think this is a decent haul. Now, Kings get Trae Young and Luke Kennard, and they trade away Devin Carter, Zach LaVine. Obviously, the whole situation of the Kings is just terrible. You got to change something, right? And they don't really have a true point guard, because they're running, you know, Russell Westbrook as their point, which he's actually been playing pretty good. But if you want to stay like somewhat consistent and decent throughout the year, this would be a good idea to do. You know, Trae Young, you know, I think it's been proven that he can't be your number 1, but again, Kings, the fact he was kind of seen as a potential number 1 for these past few years, the Kings can use all the talent they can get, and going from Zach LaVine to Trae Young is a very good upgrade in my opinion, despite, you know, Trae's struggles. But you have Domantas Sabonis as your big. That might not be a bad duo, honestly. You probably might stay mid still, but maybe a little bit better. But again, you know, you're gonna give your fans at least some new perspective on the team. getting a better player for the player they're trading away for sure. The Kings fans are just sad with the current situation right now. Just having a roster change can also really improve the fan perspective of your team. So but yeah, I mean, and then for us, obviously, the Warriors, creating Kristaps is so big because it's just another, big man that can shoot, which we've always, wanted to have on this team. And I mean, Kristaps is, former All-Star and is not super old, so we can have a really, really big, now front court with Kristaps and Draymond playing at the same time, and then you get to sub in Al Horford or Quentin Post afterwards, and not have either one of them start. That's pretty huge. Obviously, QB's playing fantastic these past few games. I'm not saying he can't start, but you can have Kristaps and start him. That's pretty good. And then the Pistons trade away, I think, what was it? It's the Detroit aspect of this. So the article doesn't even really state what the Detroit role is here. I mean, they get money, so I guess that's the thing. I don't know what they're trading away, though, here that makes sense. Is it Luke Kennard? But no, I thought he was a Hawk, right? Yeah, he's a Hawk. How the hell is this going on? What the heck? I guess it's the pick? I don't know where this first round pick is from. So this is from the Hawks. This pick is from the Hawks. So the Pistons are really just here to help facilitate the trade, which honestly, now you think about it, do they want to do that? Because of the fact that the Hawks are getting Anthony Davis and like a kind of a big bench boost in their same conference. I don't know. But again, maybe the Hawks think, or the Pistons think that maybe AD is not going to move the needle for them, especially since they're trading away Trae Young. We'll see. The Pistons are really just here for the money. They just get cash considerations, and I mean, Doug McDermott, which, I mean, how has he been playing? Has he been playing? No, he only played one game this season, so not really a player that they're probably going to use, especially with how good they are right now. But I don't see why the Pistons would do this. That's the kind of funny part is, out of all of these teams, the one team that barely is involved in this trade is the one team I don't think that's actually going to be wanting to do this, because it boosts like their same conference rivals potentially. Again, whether you think this is a better situation than having Trae Young and Kristaps is up to debate. I think it can be better. That's why I'm saying this, but again, I don't think this is a terrible trade. And Mark's analysis is that this is the winner. It helps Dallas, but also Atlanta, Golden State, Sacramento, and Mavs. You get Levine, which is like, can fit alongside Kyrie. Levine can be an off-ball player now. And then you get more first-round picks, which Dallas is, not having as much of. And the only, like I said, the downside is that he can be, like I kind of mentioned, is like his player option, but you can always try to trade him for something. But again, I don't think this is a bad trade, and I would love this trade if I'm for the Warriors. Because trading away JK, because again, like I just meant, like we talked about, we're not in a good situation with him right now. And both sides probably want some kind of trade to happen. Getting, rid of Buddy will hurt in terms of like the, like the team perspective, of like the players' perspective, like he was really a big like source of positivity. But again, like that only gets you so far, and he's been struggling a bit. These recent games, he's been much better, but again, he's been struggling quite a bit this season. So for us, like the fact, like, yeah, we're trading away one first-round pick, but that's just next year. So it's like not that bad. If this was like a 2030 pick, then you start questioning it a little bit. But 2026 is not a bad pick. And again, this is a lottery protected pick. I mean, we can even make it unprotected. I don't think I'm like complaining. That'll also incentivize the Mavericks more potentially. So I would not mind that either. And yeah, again, we get Kristaps, because if we're going to get Kristaps, we're not going to be having a pick that's going to be in the lottery. That's for sure. So that's why I personally think you could just make that unprotected and have the Mavericks get more incentive of doing this trade, and it can work, I think. But if this trade happens, I will be so happy. You do not know how happy I will be. The money would be a little bit Okay, he's on his last year of his deal, so it is a rental, which does kind of be like a little bit of a questionable thing, but I don't think it's bad, especially since you're trading away only JK and Buddy. The only thing you're really losing there is the pick and somebody future years, so I would take that, honestly, even if it's a rental. And again, you never know if he might want to sign with the team again afterwards for like a smaller contract if he really enjoyed playing with us. So, you never know. You just never know. So, yeah, I think I still won't I still will like that trade. But yeah, and then we'll just go into the Steph news. So it has been confirmed that Steph's coming back from the Timberwolves for sure. I just like this article because it just talked about Pat Spencer and stuff. So Warriors will keep playing Pat Spencer when Steph returns. Steve Kerr said that he's gonna try to play Pat and Steph together, which I mean I think can work out, but I personally think is that it should probably be something like Steph and Melton, and then like Steph and Pods probably, and then you still have the bench be like Pods and Melton or Pods and Pat. I just think like Pat Spencer should truly just be a 1. I think he can play as a 2 and be like your backup ball handler. I mean, I guess if it's along Steph, then it's probably not that bad. But I do think like Pods, he probably plays better as a 2. I think that's his true position, and I think he will play well alongside like a true, like not a true 1, but person that can really ball handle, play make, which is someone like Melton or Pat or obviously Steph. That's why I just brought it up. I think Pat will be better though, again, as the full-time 1 and not be playing alongside Steph. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, you'll have to see it, actually happen, and like, what it looks like. But yeah, I just used this article to just bring that point up there. And Spencer's part, he said all the right things about he could be potentially used after the return of Curry. He said, Steve Kerr doesn't owe me a conversation. We may address it, we may not, but ultimately my whole career has been built off of staying ready. So great attitude. Love that guy. I've always liked him to begin with when it comes to like him as a player. After that, I think I already talked about it before, the poster dunk that he did against the Trailblazers in preseason like 3 years ago. Obviously, that wasn't the only thing that I liked, but that was still like a big thing. Again, he will still be a big asset to us. It's just that he's actually on a 2-way right now. So if we really wanted to play him, we'll need an open roster spot. That's why also that trade would be really good, because right now we're fully at a 15-man roster after signing Seth Curry. So if we do that trade that we just talked about for a long time, that's 2 players for 1, because we're trading away Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga for just Kristaps. That opens up a 15-man roster spot, and then Pat can go there. So that's why I also like that trade. But yeah, that's going to be it for that. Let's now actually get into the full preview. So a Western Conference final, no, not finals, Western Conference semifinal rematch. So wow, this is like the first time in a long time where I've seen like this injury report being so clean. So somehow we're higher despite them not having any injured players, just very odd. Even with them having injuries, they still have a much better team than us, especially with records. I'm just surprised that we're there. Trae Jackson Davis is gonna play, most likely. He's probable. Draymond, for personal reasons, is out, so it's actually not his injury. But yeah, so he's gonna be out, so that's gonna be kind of tough. And Al Horford's still gonna be out. I don't know how long it's gonna take him to bring back, because I thought it was on like just a few games when it initially happened that he was not gonna be playing. Yeah, I should go back to some of my older videos, because it'll say like when it first happened and what the status was. But this is going longer than we, I think, all anticipated, which does suck. And then the Minnesota Timberwolves just start on here, obviously, because it seems like they have no injuries. So we're going to be playing their full roster, probably. So again, surprised that the matchup predictor has us higher than them, especially with the Timberwolves winning a good amount of their last few games. Granted, these 3 games, I guess, aren't super impressive considering the teams, because you only beat the Clippers by 3, which they're a terrible team. New Orleans is a terrible team. You only won by single digits here, and you went into overtime here with this other game. But you saw an impressive win against Sacramento, or San Antonio. But again, I'm just surprised again that they have us higher, because I do think they're the better team. But hey, we can get some revenge on them from the semifinals. And the last game they lost against the Suns. Wait, why did that not say that? Oh no, Suns game was there. Never mind. This is their roster. Rob Dillingham still hasn't been playing. Joingles played 6 seconds of game time. So they played Anthony Davis, Julius Randle, Donovan DiVincenzo, Rudy Gobert, and Jaden McDaniels as starters. Backup was Naz Reid, Bones Highland, Mike Conley, Jalen Clark, and Terrence Shannon Jr. Naz Reid struggled, which I'm kind of scared of now, because I feel like he might have a comeback game against us, because he loves to play well against the Warriors. Ant was just Ant, still played really well. Jaden McDaniels really struggled too. And Dante struggled a lot too, so no wonder why they lost the game. Surprised they only lost by 3 considering all that. But I still think they're a good team. You know, he stopped Ant playing really goddamn good. Julius Randle being pretty solid. And Rudy Gobert kind of, you know, regressing a little bit, but still pretty good player. Let's see, what was their season stats then? Yeah, Jerry McDaniel was like 15 on 50% shooting and 45% three-point shooting. Yeah, he just had a bad one-off game. He's been playing pretty damn good this whole season. Yeah, I mean, let's see what the team stats. So, I mean, they don't have much like top 10 stats, which is kind of surprising. They score a lot though. 7th in points scored per game, 7th in free throw attempts, 7th in three-pointers made, 4th in three-point percentage, 7th in field goal percentage, which is probably helped by the fact that three-point percentage is that good. So they're a really good three-point shooting team. So definitely guarding the perimeter is going to be important. But as long as we play solid defense, we should be fine. Their defensive stats, I mean, they're still a good defensive team. 10th in points allowed. Defensive ratings 13th, 8th in offensive ratings. So, you know, around the same as the actual raw points. Opposing teams, I mean, their field goal percentage is 10th in the league in terms of like opposing, you know, team field goal percentages. Yeah, both teams are both sides of the ball is actually not that bad for them. I think they're like a pretty good team for both the offense and defense. That's why they haven't been like so good, but they've still been, you know, pretty solid as a team during the season. I think what you gotta do is just hammer the boards, because as much as it's 11th for opposing team rebounds per game, which is pretty good for them. They don't rebound themselves that often, which indicates that just no one's picking up rebounds when teams play them. I don't know, but again, 20th in rebounds per game for the Timberwolves. Are crashing to glass can be a really big factor, and also they foul a lot. 25th in personal fouls. So, you know, just driving in. Again, I think just continuing that trend that we've been doing, which is the good trend, is driving into the paint and then, you know, shooting, getting fouled, and then, you know, passing out to the three instead of, you know, taking contested threes is going to be important. Especially again with this team and their stats from what I'm seeing. And yeah, I think as long as we continue that, we should be good. I still have a good, you know, feeling about this game, especially with Steph coming back. I mean, Steph might have a somewhat of a rusty game, but yeah, as long as we have Steph on our side, you know, I'm not gonna be too down about like playing certain teams, or most teams. So yeah, X factor, I'll just say Steph at this point because it's his first game back. It's all gonna really hinge on how well he can play. Obviously others need to step up, but how he plays is obviously gonna affect us big. With it being, you know, his first game back from injury, you know, that would be a big factor to look for. That was a long video. I recorded for 35 minutes, so I don't know how long this video is ended up gonna be, but it was a fun video. So thank you guys for watching all this way. Subscribe if you still haven't, and I will see you guys in the next video.